Well, it's Friday night, you guys. You know what that means. It's another night of call-in shows here on USC Voice of College Football. As always, I have Matt with me to take your calls. And remember, this is the Trojan CONQUEST call-in show. It is not the last, but it was definitely the first show that lets you guys drive where we're going to go with the conversation. We want to hear from you. Phone number 888-997-RILEY or 888-997-4539. Please give us a call. Let us know what you want to talk about. Clearly, we're talking about Henderson today. We can talk about Henson if you want as well. You know, I thought something, Matt. Now we have Henderson, Henson, and Hanson. It's just going to be a mess with those three. It's going to be a tongue twister. But we have Eric Henderson joining us from the Rams to solidify, as I put in the title. This puts a nice little bow on this elite defensive staff by adding a defensive line coach and defensive coordinator and a guy that's going to bring a lot of NFL development to recruiting. So with that, Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. And boy, this is a very interesting week with, Arizona players, Washington players, and Alabama players all jumping into the portal because of the coaching changes. And you'd certainly like to hope that USC could land one or two splashes from these provisional portals, given the 30-day period after a coaching change occurs. And of course, Ohio State is the team that's cleaning up right now in that portal. So USC has some Big Ten competition that it needs to be able to rise up and if not necessarily match Ohio State standard, you're probably not going to match what the Buckeyes have done in the portal, at least gain some ground and at least, land your share of hits. Can't just let Ohio State get all of them.
Sorry, I hit that when I go to talk to screen to caller. Sorry about that. First off, before we get started, two little pieces of housekeeping I want to get to. One, I want to say again, as always, I am the worst at the chat. When I'm doing the calls, the screening, all this stuff, the chat is going to slip by me. And last week, I feel horrible because Jonathan Golden, not only did he give us some of his hard-earned money, he also just basically said, hey, look, here's $2 just to support good USC content. Jonathan, really appreciate you. Sorry, man, I just dropped the ball on that one. Really appreciate you, first off, tuning into the show, and then also taking some time and a little bit of money out of your wallet to say hello and give us a nice compliment. Also, Slap Happy, for 2 weeks in a row, Slap Happy, I've missed one of your super chats. I truly apologize for that, you guys. I really do my best to get those super chats. I will make sure at the end of the show today that I nail all of them. Also, last week we had a little conversation. We've been having guys sit on hold last week for almost 40 minutes. That is not happening anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'm trying to up my game. What I'm going to do here is I want you guys to come on, have a thought or a question or two. I will not cut you off, but we're going to try to keep these things under 3 to 4 minutes each call. You are the call. You are the star, but we're going to try to shrink them so we don't have people bailing out. Last week, we had 13 callers that took time to wait and hold and just didn't make it to the call. So I want to honor them and move the show along. So
Here's the thing, folks. You get one bite at the apple. We're not going to rush you with that one bite in the apple. It's just that you don't get a second, third, fourth follow-up. That's all. That's how we're going to try and modify these calls. All right. So it's not as though you have to hurry up when you get on, but just no follow-ups. That's how we're going to move people through the line.
Okay. I hope you guys appreciate the change to the format. Again, if you want to go back, feel free, leave us a comment in the comment section. I'll miss it in chat. Leave us a comment if you like it, a new format, or if you don't. But that's where we're trying to move it along because, again, I just feel horrible not honoring people's time, sitting 40 minutes in a call queue and then not getting to you. That's terrible. And I'm very sorry about that, but we will fix that. Okay, so let's move on. So, caller, thank you so much for starting us off. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Gary from Dana Point.
My favorite.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll try to be succinct here. I want to make one comment. I have one question. I want to make one comment about Caleb Williams because there are people that take shots at him here and there. Listen, Caleb Williams put this entire university program on his back. He carried the offensive line that was suspect. He carried a defense that was terrible, including Aldridge Grinch. And actually, he had Clay Helton sitting on his shoulders. And I think one game I saw him carrying Traveler. He actually carried this program from the doldrums into where now we've got optimism. But so that's my editorial. Let me get to my question or my point. Pete Carroll came in and he won 6 games the first year. And then after that, we all know what happened. And then disaster when he left, the sanctions, and a series of failed coaches, including the disaster of Clay Helton. All of that resulted in a deficit. It was a little bit like trying to bail out the Titanic with a teacup or trying to fill in the Grand Canyon with a garden hose. So enter Lincoln Riley. And now we have restoration of hope. So my question is simply this. Pete Carroll went from 6-6 and turned the program around, but it was a different era. And now Lincoln Riley is here where we've got the portal and we've got NIL. So do we have hope to becoming more than just one of 20 good teams? I know the defensive moves that Lincoln Riley has made are good, but what is your feeling about USC 3-4 years down the line? Are we going to be elite again, or are we just going to be one of 20 good teams?
Let's hit that first, Mark. Matt, sorry.
Gary, great to have you on once again. A really good question, and I think it begins with a couple things. I think it begins with the NIL. That operation simply needs to be more robust. Needs to be a heavy hitter on par with what we're seeing at Oregon and what we're seeing clearly also with Ohio State. The thing with Ohio State cleaning up, like guys are flocking to play for Ryan Day. That doesn't that strike you as a little weird? Like you wouldn't just do it on the raw merits. Like there wouldn't have to be some incentives, you would think. Like the NIL operation is apparently really, really strong at Ohio State, as you would expect it to, of course. But like USC is not landing nearly as many of these elite, prospects as Oregon, as Ohio State. And Oregon and Ohio State are both Big Ten competitors in 2024 and beyond. So you have to have that. And then the other thing, Gary, specifically, not specifically in terms of NIL, but in terms of both recruiting and the portal. With Alabama in the portal, I alluded to that briefly, after Saban retiring. Caden Proctor, just a massive 6'7", I think 350-pound offensive lineman, like the number one offensive lineman in the portal. Can USC land guys like that? And really, I think that USC's road to elite status, Gary, it's getting 5-star offensive linemen. Because that has been such a conspicuous deficit in the latter part of the Helton era, and Josh Henson's trying to play catch up. We all know how badly the Josh Connerly loss to Oregon stung, and really still does sting, because you put Connerly in on that offensive line in 2023, protecting Caleb Williams. USC season probably works out a lot better than it actually did. So the NIL is kind of the big thing. The 5-star offensive lineman is the more specific thing.
Yeah, speaking of, so Proctor was one guy coming out of Alabama, but the other big news was Caleb Downs, who I guess we could call, we'll do it here, Mark, with Matt. We'll do recruiting news here on the show. Breaking right now, just Caleb Downs, the safety, the all-world safety from Alabama. It seems like On3 was reporting he's committing to Ohio State, one of the better secondaries in the country to begin with. Now just got a little richer. Jim Knowles, he's got another piece to play with. Probably going to leave a lot of Michigan fans very, very, very upset. So that's just a little breaking news, just happened just now. So I think really our issue is for the high school recruiting classes, I think that we definitely got to keep just building the trenches, building the defensive line, building the offensive line. They're doing a really good job on the offensive line. Again, I'm not chasing 5-star tackles. Like obviously guys like Proctor, these guys are definitely be NFL linemen. I think that I was talking to a couple of people and they were telling me that the kind of guys that go to the NFL usually are the guys, the developmental guys. The guys are a little bit smaller, but you put a little weight on them. They have the frames to build it. More of either the tight ends that you're converting from tight end to tackle. Those guys, those athletic guys with great bend, and great athleticism. Those are the guys that we want to get, and those are the guys we're getting. And we're also getting the guys in the middle. We're getting Jason Zandamil is a #1 interior offensive lineman, and we continue to get road graders through the system. So I'm very happy at the offensive line. We got to keep building to slow way, but I do want to see, like Matt said, we have to get that NIL situation better, because we're getting our hats handed to us and we're losing out on some of these recruits. I know we can say as long as we want that we want to make sure we get the right guys and we don't want to hand them, but hey guys, get with the program. This is what college football now is. There's no purism anymore. You got to hand out money if you want to get the top linemen, and you got to get them in high school. I really think that we saw last year that we got some highly coveted guys, starters in the SEC, really good players, but it just did not work out as a unit, never gelled throughout the year. Gary, thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate you. Hope to see you next week.
Right on, guys. Thank you.
Right on, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, Matt. We learned that you can't build the lines through the portal. And you can get a Bear Alexander on defensive line, but the offensive line just seems you got to bring them up. Next caller, thank you for calling. You're on with Matt and with Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Leon from Orlando.
Hey, Leon, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
My question tonight is, guys, we have Juju Lewis committed. Of course, he hasn't signed yet, and he already decided to come into 2025. But do you guys think we should go after the quarterback decommitted from, I believe it was Georgia, the other Julian?
Yeah, Julian Sayin.
For 2024?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the concern here is now you have Maeva coming in from UNLV, and now let's say you bring in a freshman in Julian Sayin, who's I believe the #1 quarterback in the country, according to some of the services. Now you start to get a crowded quarterback room, and you really get a push on that fact. I actually wrote a piece just the other day on this whole situation. There's a lot of people still interested in Julian Lewis. They have not given up, and now that he's moved up his commitment, now that that pressure is heating up on the young man. He's been very clear that he wants NFL development. So I think that everything's pointed to Lincoln Riley at this point. But Matt, what are your thoughts about us filling up that quarterback room in front of him as he says he's going to? Well, this is a good topic we're bringing to. Now that he's coming in 25 instead of 26. What do you think bringing on addition of a Julian Sayin would do to that quarterback room and the odds of getting Juju Lewis?
Well, with Miller Moss's performance in the Holiday Bowl, that was a significant statement. And I think this picture, this QB room picture, would look very different if Miller Moss had not played well in the Holiday Bowl. Then the need would be very acute and apparent for USC. But, I think with Miller Moss and Jaden Maeva as your quarterback room, like USC's in a good place. I'm not going to sit here and say, wow, we have to get somebody else to bring in, but let me throw it back to you because, remember, folks, Tim Prangley's now a Trojans Wire staff writer, and he wrote a piece about Juju Lewis. Tim, why don't you tell the folks about the piece that you wrote and some of the details of it?
Well, so in the end, it came down to a number of schools, but as we know, Lincoln Riley last August got his commitment. And so he's been coming to SC. But he went and did some more visits. He's been, to a number of schools, to Georgia, Alabama. And so although he's committed, I'm sure that Riley's saying, hey, because last thing you want is some guy making a last minute change. So I'm all for these guys taking visits and making sure that this is what they want to do. Dad in the article, I'd also talked about, I saw an interview with his dad, and basically he was saying, they're asking him, so could you see him going to flipping to Alabama or to Georgia? And he basically said, not unless Lincoln Riley goes there. I think the family's really, really keyed in on Lincoln. I know his dad was in conversation with Caleb's father, just talking about how locked in, just talking about how Lincoln Riley really was getting Caleb's mindset, not just his ability to play the game on the field, but also off the field, and really making him feel comfortable and grooming him like he's done, because there's no other coach out there that has 3 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks and pretty soon, most likely, 3 #1 overall draft picks in the NFL draft at quarterback. So Riley's pedigree for getting guys from where he is now to the NFL and where you want to be is unprecedented. As well as there was a really great interview with Jordan Carson. I'm sorry, Jordan Carson. I'm blanking out now. I'm losing it. But Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer, Jordan Palmer. God, I'm mixing up names. Jordan Palmer, by the way, because I was talking to them, Jordan Palmer and Carson Palmer look so much alike that someone thought actually was Carson Palmer was doing the interview. But if you know anything about Jordan Palmer, he's very connected to the Elite 11 camps. And he said there's two quarterbacks that are just different. He said the one of them was Caleb Williams. He said, when I saw this dude, this guy came through the Elite 11. There's been a lot of great quarterbacks come through Elite 11. You name it. You name a Heisman Trophy winner. They came through the Elite 11 camp. He said that Caleb, when I saw this guy, he was different. The other guy is Juju Lewis. And he said he's coming out in a couple of weeks and he can't wait to see what he could do now. So Lewis is just a special guy. It looks like the family's locked in on USC, but he's going to continue to take visits. And I think that recently I saw someone in the chat also, Slap did, that he's going to Colorado, Georgia, and Auburn. And so he's doing 3 more visits, in this month. So it's going to be, can we hold on to him? I have it here. Yeah, I have so if you guys want to go over to my page and look it up, you can see right here, the bottom, can USC keep Julian Lewis's commitment? I think it's still kind of up in the air, because it's a long time between now and December. And lots gonna hinge on what USC does on the field this year, who they add to their roster. But man, I think that USC going down this home stretch is a tough one to beat, especially as long as you have, like I said, as long as we have Lincoln Riley as a head coach, it's a very good chance that Julian's going to be here at USC.
And Tim, that's why I brought it up, because I saw that Juju Lewis was taking those 3 additional visits to the other schools. And I was kind of like, is he really thinking about flipping? And then I see every video, all he talks about is learning from Lincoln Riley. So, this puts a little, let's stay locked in, buddy.
Well, one of my favorite guys is because of recruiting, because I'm not as tapped into recruiting like I used to be. I'm getting more and more, obviously, because now I'm right for Trojan's Wire. But Gerard Martinez always says it. He basically says, actions speak louder than words. So, I mean, this means that he's not completely locked in, right? He might be saying Lincoln Riley, but he still continue to take visits. I think, honestly, Leon, that's a good thing, because you want to make sure that he wants to be at SC. And if what his dad said at the very beginning, if that's what their core value is, meaning they want someone to develop Julian to get him to the NFL and then not just get him to the NFL, but so he can have a great NFL career, I think that Lincoln Riley is the guy to do that. And I think that's at the end, we'll win out. Thanks again. Hey, Leon, we got to move on, but thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, sir.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks, guys. Fight on.
Fight on.
Great show.
All right. We got a bunch in the queue, so we're going to keep them rolling. You guys, I am getting to you, and I'm trying to keep that one. Make sure you have your idea ready for us, and make sure you're ready to hit it. You will not be in a rush. Just don't have like 10 points or 10 things to bring about. But we are not going to rush you through the call. Just have one idea, hit us with it, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for joining us on a Friday. You're on with Matt and Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is John from Detroit, man. I haven't talked to you guys in a while. Called in a couple of times.
Fight on, John.
Welcome back.
Yeah, just absolutely love the show. Tim, thank you for representing the hat, man. Love it. I got the same hat.
My dad's from Grand Rapids,
Thanks
so yeah, I gotta do it. Gotta do it for Dad.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, I got a comment about something. I remember when Michigan hired Jim Harbaugh, it was always the thing. A lot of people here didn't really think they could hire Jim Harbaugh because of the money situation. And Michigan felt that, hey, any coach you want to just coach at Michigan because it's Michigan. I kind of felt that we were kind of like that too. But the thing about what Jim Harbaugh did once he got here, basically because people didn't believe they would pay Jim Harbaugh $9 million. Michigan, they would never ever do that. Once he got here, it was all about getting the right assistants. And getting the right assistants, they needed to pay. Now, I see that we're doing that now.
Yeah.
We're getting the right assistants. We're getting the people that's in place that we need to have. Now, I know we mentioned a lot about 5 stars and, we want 4 stars and all this stuff, but 5 stars and stuff. I'm looking at that Michigan team that just won it. They had like 3 5-stars on that team. The thing that I notice about them is just that their assistant coaches, they really coach those guys up. Those guys have really, really been coached up. And so once you start seeing the results on the field, and I think that's the most important thing for us. We need to see the results on the field when it comes to winning. If we do that, that will solve a lot of our problems. And it would show two things. It would show that basically not only that we're winning, but it would also show that the coaches, the assistant coaches, defensive coaches, offensive coaches, linebacker coaches, and we made this big change, man. And we got to see this because, see, all my buddies here, they always keep saying, USC, man, they ain't going to do nothing, they ain't going to do nothing. But see, I know once we start winning, we'll start back getting those kids out of California. But that's the number one thing we have to do. And I'm loving, and I have to tell myself all the time, this is just the third year of a rebuild. Okay? Now, of course, the first year, we won a lot of games and stuff, so we expected a lot more this year. And I'm thinking a lot, it was just a scheme. And I could be wrong. I mean, I'm looking at what I'm seeing, I'm seeing the missed tackles and all of that stuff, but I'm seeing guys, out of position and stuff like that. It's like, and it kind of really, really drove me crazy. But I got to give Lincoln Riley, I got to give him credit. Man, he said he was going to do something with this defense, and I'm liking all the new defensive hires that we're getting. But the main thing for me is, man, we got to coach these guys up. If we can get these guys coached up and we start winning, I'm just telling you, man, the people will start coming because it's LA, man. And I always tell people, I think that USC and Miami are the two worst or are the two hardest places to coach because there's so much going on in those cities. And I tell people a lot of time is like USC, that is the pro team of LA. That's the pro team of LA. So if we can get that right with the coaching staff, and I'm seeing those similarities, Harbaugh came in, he started getting them assistants, man. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. So I'm looking to see this big jump. I really am. I'm really looking to see this big jump. So, I just wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I'm ready too. Again, the big jumps would come from big boy programs, make big boy moves. And what you're seeing with what they've gone out and done, going grabbing Lynn, right? Going grabbing Entz, Belk, right. And now just putting the bow on this thing and having Eric Henderson and saying to every defensive line commit from Miami to Seattle saying, hey, look, we're going to get you to the pros. You want development. You want to be a first-round draft pick, you come to USC. We're not playing around anymore. This is the kind of moves you make if you want to be a big-time program. This is what Ohio State's been doing. This is what Georgia's been doing. This is what Alabama's been doing. That's why they are where they are. They got good NIL programs going, but you know what they also do? They've got great developers of talent, and they're putting guys in the first round. And then just well, go ahead, Matt, because we got to move on. Sorry, I can go on forever on that. But yeah, great. Actually, great points, John.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it, man. That's all I wanted, man. Matt, I would like to hear your comments too, though, man.
I 100% agree. Like, there's nothing for me to add to all of that. It's extremely well said on all fronts.
Well, John.
All right, but listen, guys, I'm gonna get off the phone. I know you got callers. Hey, man, I love the show. Just being here in the East, I keep forgetting what time you guys come on, man. I'm gonna try to be on every week as long as you guys are. Hey, man, I love both you guys, man. Love what you're doing. Fight on, fight on.
Fight on, John. Thank you so much for being at 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Appreciate it. Oh, in Detroit,
right.
Sorry, the Midwest, but 3 hours ahead. Thanks, John.
All right.
I do that whenever I go to get the next caller. Sorry, caller, hold on a second. Big boy moves, Matt. That's what you got to do if you want to get the big boys. You got to make those kind of moves, and that's what SC's finally doing. Starting with Lincoln Riley and now following through on the defense side of the ball. Caller, thank you so much for joining us on our Friday night and your Friday night. Appreciate you being here. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brad from San Juan Capistrano. My question is simple. The number of players they can bring in is capped at 85, but nobody seems to know how many scholarships there are right now, given all the, NFL, transfer portal, whatever. Do you guys have any idea if they're at 85? Because one of the rumors is they can't sign anybody or they're very limited now that they're actually over 85 and they have to get rid of people. Maybe that's why Height left today or last few days. That's my question.
Well, so the short answer is no. I do not know the calculus of where it exactly is at this point. Matt might know. I know that I think they were a hair under, I think. But remember this. It's no secret that programs process guys out of their program. It's been done forever, probably ever since they had the 85-man scholarship limits. John McKay can't get the 200 best players anymore in California and stick them on a roster. You have to share with everybody else now. So I'm sure there are people that are not just they're just being told. I mean, I think probably the coaches sit them down and say, hey, look, here's where we see you. Here's what we're bringing in. Here's what we think of you probably playing. Do you want to hang on? I don't know how aggressive they are with it. I'm sure that's probably the nicest it goes. But, it is the seedy side of college football, but it's nothing new. It's what's done every program and has been done for years. And there's a lot of, it kind of sucks because you have guys that bust their asses for 2-3 years and they're kind of shown the door. And, but it is a business, right? And these kids know coming in, that's what it's going to be. So you made a good point about Romello Height. Romello Height, you guys, if you don't know, went into the portal today. We had a lot of excitement. I mean, it was one of the big fan favorites. I wrote about that again today also about Romello Height. Everyone loved Romello Height. We were thinking he would add speed and strength to that defensive edge. And then in the second game against Stanford, he goes down to a season-ending shoulder injury, comes on back, never really gets in the swing of things. Really, he wasn't a starter, kind of more a rotational guy coming in and out. But when you're playing behind, Solomon Byrd had himself a great season, and so he had his best game he had was against Arizona State. If you guys remember, he had 2 sacks. He had I think 5 tackles and a recovered fumble. But that was the height of his season, which is that's a great line, for a game. But I think there's only one other game where he had, and I talked about this in the article, 3 or more tackles in one game the entire season. Again, part of that was rotation. Who knows? Maybe lingering injuries. We really don't know their injury situation. But he just never got in the groove. Never really hit that stride where like everyone thought he would when he came in from Auburn in 2022. Matt, any thoughts on him?
Yeah, so with this Romello Height move, I do think that it was a situation where Romello Height had a conversation with Danton Lynn, maybe also Lincoln Riley, and there was a feeling out process of, hey, how do I fit in this scheme? What would be the expectations? Like, what are you looking for? I think, I mean, I don't know this, but I think that there was a conversation which precipitated Height's exit. So in other words, like, I don't think Height was necessarily intending to leave, but like there was a conversation with the new staff and there was an agreement, an understanding that, yeah, you're not quite the fit. I mean, I think that's probably how it went down. Because I think Romello Height enjoyed his time at USC, liked playing for USC, but, with staff changes, there has to be a vetting process in terms of fit, in terms of how everything works together. And so, while we're going to miss Romello Height, I don't view this as a generally a negative development for USC, because that tells me there's an open spot on the roster, and this defensive staff can get a piece it wants and it feels would be a better fit. I think that's really important. One thing to keep in mind about, Lincoln Riley taking his time and being very patient in building out and realigning his defensive staff, taking that time, sacrificed some gains in the portal and on the trail in December, but we're pointing to that spring window. And we're also pointing to these Alabama, Washington, Arizona prospects that are all in the portal right now. This is where the defensive staff and these credentials, Lincoln Riley making sure to take time in December to bring in credentialed defensive staffers. It needs to pay off now with these high-profile transfers. And then in the spring portal window, which begins April 16, that's where this defensive staff is going to really need to make some splashes. And so Romello Height leaving means that USC will hopefully be able to get an upgrade in that spot.
And caller, I'm sorry, what was your name? Where're you calling from again?
Brad, 7-1 Capistrano. But I guess you did. Is there any reason why none of the websites, none of the commentators are tracking the 85 limit? It seems so simple to do that. It's just arithmetic. And they may have gotten rid of height because they're over 85 and they had no choice. There may not be another spot open right now.
Well, it's going to be.
So
listen,
I agree with you. They will let people go.
The 85 is not set. You know, if they get to 85, it's not set. It's not going to be set till. Listen, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more turnover going into spring. I don't know a lot. There's going to be some. Your best, I would tell you, is you could take, you could pull the roster yourself too. It's just so fluid. You don't know who's in, who's out. But the numbers are pretty. I believe I think if I had to guess, you have to ask me. I think they're at 83. I think.
We have some
what I'm looking at. I'm trying to looking. I have my own little spreadsheet. But I have I think we have 83. I don't know. But here's my point. If we are at 87 and they want to bring 2 more guys in, they're going to process 4 guys. That's just what's going to happen. I try to start that conversation. That's just the dirty side of college football. Like it or not, that's what's going to happen.
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
All right.
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. So sorry about that, Brad. So, right, Matt? I mean, this is nothing new. This is what they do, right?
It's not.
Thank you for joining us. You're on with Matt and Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, it's Adam calling from Georgia. How are you?
Adam.
All
Nice
right.
to see you. How you doing?
All right. Good to talk to you guys. I'll be quick. I just have 2 points. First of all, just generally about this transfer portal and NIL, it really is an absolute disgrace what college football is doing. These kids are showing absolutely no loyalty to their team. Coaches are buying players. These kids are being incentivized to value money and nothing else, and not the value of sticking with a team through adversity. I mean, what kind of values are we teaching these people? And then these kids are getting paid before they even spend a day in college. I mean, what did they do to earn this? Could that possibly be the purpose of NIL? I mean, and ultimately, how can any team say that they've won a national championship when their team is really just a patchwork of bought players? I mean, I think it's ridiculous. And my second point is, for you guys, do you think that us joining the Big Ten is going to affect our recruiting efforts? And if so, in what way? Will it expand it? Could it hinder it? What are your thoughts on that? And Matt, do you plan to write an article calling out the nonsense that is the transfer portal and NIL? Thanks for taking my questions.
Let me do my little quick answer really quick, Matt. I'll hand it over to you because I'm doing some stuff behind here. So in business, and business and war, there's no holds barred, right? I mean, because this is what this is. College football is big money, and for the kids and for these schools. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not about. This is not 1970s. You go because you love USC. You grew up in Long Beach, and you always watched this guy, and you went to the Coliseum. Now it's you're making business decisions. One, how much can I get for myself and my family right now? And also, who's going to get me to that first contract and definitely that second contract in the league? That's what college football is now. And Pandora's box is open. We're not going back to, my dad, my uncle taught me about football and he loved the Ohio State Buckeyes. So now I'm going to be a Buckeye. I think now it's really, he might want to do that. Mm-hmm. That's why some of these kids, you see some of these kids' faces. You see Ryan Pelham on signing day, right? I bet you he did want to go to USC, but you know what? Well, if Oregon's going to make ridiculous offers to players, they might make decisions. I wish I would have said to Ryan, hey, how many NFL wide receivers are there from Oregon that we're going to see in the playoffs? But, or big time NFL players. But, you have to make decisions, for your family, what's best for you. And it's business. It's just business. Matt?
So Adam, some understandable points. I know you're not alone in saying what you said and thinking what you think. I would say on the aspect of loyalty, what about the coaches, right? What about coaches flying the coop, at various points in time? I mean, look at Jed Fish in particular. With Kalen DeBoer, that's kind of one thing, right? Saban retires, Alabama offers you the job. You're going to take that, or at least most people in his position probably would. But Jed Fish, think about Jed Fish. He had Arizona set up to compete with Utah for the Big 12 title in 2024, had a loaded roster. Jedd Fisch was on the doorstep of doing something really special with that Arizona team. Like Jedd Fisch didn't win a conference championship. He didn't win a New Year's Six bowl game. He didn't make the college football playoff. He had a chance to do something really magical with Arizona in 2024, and he leaves. Now, so that's not Kalen DeBoer writing his ticket after leading Washington to the national title game, going 14-0, playing Michigan for the whole ball of wax, and leveraging that into the Alabama job when Nick Saban unexpectedly retires. Jedd Fisch ditching Arizona, just win that program and just win that roster with players who I'm sure love being in Tucson and the sunshine and the warmth down there. I mean, you might see plenty of those Arizona players transfer up to Seattle, and Seattle's a nice place. I've lived there for about 20 years of my life. But, those Arizona players, to imagine the sting of what just happened with Jedd Fisch, loyalty is something that no one has. Like there's no loyalist. I mean, you can come up with a few exceptions. Bobby Bowden, Joe Paterno, the lifers. There aren't many lifers who stick it out for 30, 40, 50 years at one place. I mean, heck, even John Robinson, a great Trojan, he scratched his NFL itch with the Rams. So it's not as though he was like this 25-year USC guy. So the loyalty goes in all different directions. Now about NIL, this is where I think you're on to something, Adam. Handing these guys these big bags before they've ever played a down for your school, that doesn't seem right. Now I will say that it's still progress in a bigger context that players can now capitalize on their market value. They're playing football for crowds of 70, 80, 90, 100,000. That's a lot of tickets sold. They should be getting compensated. But Adam, I will agree with you that the structure of this seems a little bit backwards. That instead of having a system where it's the wild, wild west, and you can just throw the biggest bag at someone at the very beginning of the journey, I would like to see a revised system. Not that I'm predicting it's going to happen. You actually need to have adults in the room who are going to make it happen. And I don't think there are any adults in the room. So that's a problem. But it's also a conversation for another day. But just what I'd like to see, Adam, in terms of a different system, I'd like to see players get paid for games played. All right, as a professional style system. You play a game, you get paid for it. That's how professional sports work. And also, I would like to see incentives. You catch a touchdown pass, you win a conference championship, whatever, then you get bonuses. But just throwing a huge bag at someone before playing college football at all, that just seems wrong to me as well. That the players should be getting compensated, but it should be getting done in a different way. And think of it this way. There's a salary cap in pro sports. Shouldn't there be an NIL cap? I don't think we have one. If we did, we'd all know about it, right? Let's have an NIL cap,
right?
And let's infuse more money into compensating players through incentives, where you get money for actually doing something, not just because certain universities have billionaire donors or they have the right bagmen. Yeah, I do think that the system could be a lot different and a lot better relative to what it is.
Awesome call. Really good job, Adam. Thank you so much as always for calling in. Appreciate you, and look forward to talking to you next week. All right,
guys. Thanks for the show.
Thank you.
All right,
Adam.
take care.
Right on, Adam. Thanks so much for calling in. Really quickly, get this really fast for the next caller. Thank you, Willie, for the super chat. Fight on, fellas. Elite defensive staff. Very pumped up for the upcoming spring portal fall camp season. I expect massive improvements on defense. Absolutely, Matt. Your thoughts?
My thought is that, Willie, you're the best. You're always generous, continuing to make contributions to this show and the voice of college football. So thank you. And I'm pumped too.
Yep. Thank you, Willie, again, for continued support. You're always awesome. And I am. I think that USC has turned the corner. We knew the offense was fine. We just said fix the defense. And it looks like when Lincoln Riley said he's gonna fix the defense, he did. Matt, you and I, we got to shorten our answers because we had this guy was on hold for 25 minutes. We've lost 3 calls. We got to move faster on our end too. So I'm gonna try to be fast. Caller, you take your time. Thank you for calling in. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Hi guys, it's Dave from Iowa.
Dave, how you doing?
Good. All right, so I'll get right into it. Pretty shocked that Romello Height entered the portal before Rajon Davis, considering looking at it, the inside linebacker room is a little more cluttered, so to speak, or, in terms of guys most likely ahead of Rajon Davis. But just curious, Romello Height's transfer, do you think that's potentially due to the fact that, excuse me, do you think it's due to the fact that on defense for some of those positions, they weren't substituting a whole lot to get those guys those reps and those in-game reps? Because looking back at the national championship game, Michigan was substituting in and out, and they basically didn't lose a beat. So just curious if you think that was impactful in any way. And then second, just curious, after the news today, what's your guys' take on the Sports Illustrated situation?
Oh, that's a long one. So let me go fast. I'll go really fast through this. The first one, with Rajon Davis, I think he's just built differently. I think, from day one, I saw comments from his dad and from him. He's, I don't want to, I've talked earlier about you got to do what's right for you and money. I think he's sticking this out. I think he sees, he sees himself as a Trojan. I think there is going to be playing time for Rajon Davis. He's clearly talented. Anytime he gets on the field, he plays. And you're talking about 2 different positions, right? I mean, Rajon and Romello. So I think that Rajon's staying because I think he believes he is going to win a starting job in the spring. As far as SI is concerned, everyone grew up with SI that covers everything. There's so many great, Matt and I were talking about all the great USC covers. I could talk for 30 minutes on that, but there's so many great ones. I love the one, my favorite is the Band of Brothers one where they have all 3 of the linebackers. You got Matthews, Cushing, and Malaluga just there on the cover. We'll talk about a defense, man. That was awesome. Matt, you want to hit it really quick? We just lost 2 more calls. Oh my God, I'm terrible.
Yeah, with Sports Illustrated, the main thing is when media acquisitions occur, the people who sell need to find buyers who they can trust are going to, uphold the values and the mission and the integrity of the franchise. If you're selling your publication or your social media site to someone who, is pretty clear is just a vulture who wants to pick it clean and you basically use it as a commodity, you shouldn't sell to someone like that. But people just are interested in making the buck. As for Romello Height, here's a basic point to make, and that is that right after a coaching change occurs, players will go to the portal. They say like, this is not what I signed up for. Romello Height didn't leave right after like Danton Lynn came in or Matt Entz came in. Like he lasted another month, and I'm pretty sure that Danton Lynn and the other guys on staff, they're having conversations with players in terms of what we expect, what we're looking for. And so I think that any other transfer portal declarations we're seeing right now at this point in mid to late January, it's not less about the player wanting out, it's more about just their coaches and players coming to an understanding of what the expectations are. And so, like comparing to Rajon Davis, I think that, inside linebacker versus rush end in terms of what USC and Danton Lynn and Lincoln Riley are looking for, I just think the expectations at those 2 positions are different. I don't think it's so much about substituting. I think it's more about just the kind of player, the kind of profile that the new USC staff is looking for. And, if you're inheriting guys who don't really fit your desired profile, then you need to change that stuff out. It's as simple as that.
All right, Dave. Appreciate your call and constant support. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Fight on.
Fight on, Dave. Yeah. I talked about the fact that I was gonna hurry, and then here I am still talking. I'm trying to figure out the method to the formula. If the caller talks for 3-4 minutes, I talk for 3 or 4 minutes, and then we start getting these 9-minute phone calls. Whoever's on hold for 25 minutes, if you could call back, I'm really sorry about that. I'm trying to move as fast as I can through them. Caller, thank you so much for calling. You're on with Tim and Matt. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, it's Will. What's up?
Will, how you doing?
Hey, Will.
I'm doing good. It is cold as crap. So I'm a little jealous of you, Tim, right now, weather-wise. But other than that, doing pretty good.
Good. I'm glad. What's your thoughts? Wow us with some USC knowledge.
I mean, I'm just excited that USC's coaching staff's a lot better on the defensive side. Like, I'm hoping that the Trojans can really just clamp down on these Big Ten teams, especially like the Iowas and Minnesotas. Like, hold them to like pretty low numbers, and like, obviously the offense is going to be good. So against the good teams, just limit them, get enough stops for Miller Moss. And I'm hoping that USC goes 9-3. Their first season in the Big Ten.
Yeah, those stops are going to get important, because I do think, although I think the world of Miller Moss, I think that even with this line, I think it's going to be much improved. I think that we're not going to be scoring 41 points a game, so we're going to need that defense to take the jump. We think it's going to make under Danton Lynn, and somehow get this enough stops where this team can grow, and because there's no real ramp up. You know, we don't really have the long 3-game non-conference schedule that would help us get these guys ready. It's gonna be almost it's gonna be a trial by fire from game 1 with LSU. So then we get a little bit of a break, but then it's right back into it. Matt, any thoughts?
And, I go back to the triple stack. The triple stack principle being you don't have Alex Grinch and Dante Williams, so that's addition by subtraction. You saw how much the defense improved in the Holiday Bowl simply through what Taylor Mays did. And then the third part of the triple stack is, we still haven't had a USC game with Lynn and Belk and Entz and now Eric Henderson. So you have 3 layers of improvement to point to with this USC defense. And I think the exponential effect is going to be substantial.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, Matt, as always, because you're one of the biggest supporters of the show. I really appreciate you calling in, and you better call next week. All right, thanks, Will.
What's going to be next week? What's the topic going to be next week?
No idea what the next topic will be, but we'll talk to you next week. Let the week play out, then we'll figure that next step out. All right, thanks, Will.
See ya.
All right, guys. So we have a couple super chats, right? Did we get to this one first, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, my bad.
I popped it up. It up.
My bad. Well, again, thanks for support as always, Slap. And then also, I guess it's Janev Cox. Thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. Really appreciate you guys being here. Definitely really appreciate you guys showing support through the chat and through super chats. Caller, thank you so much for calling. You're on with Matt and Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm from Enrique from Oxnard.
Enrique, how you doing?
Welcome back, Enrique.
Hi, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Always.
Enrique, you there?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. In case you guys didn't notice, Nick Saban didn't leave just for leaving. He left because he knew USC is getting prepared to start devastating the college world. So Nick Saban went because he says, "Oh my God, I'm leaving." So he jumped the ship. So just wanted to let you know that USC is coming back. You guys need my injection for the week. I'm the greatest Trojan that has ever lived, and don't you forget it. Anyway, I think there is another layer. You were talking about layers. There is another layer that we have to get a better person to feed the players so they can get really big the way they're supposed to. I believe that guy is going to go too. I don't think he's good, and we need to get rid of that guy just to complement, just to complement the whole defense and nutrition supplemental thing. So when we arrive at that point, we already have 4 golden Trojans. So, and thank God that we kept the coach, the line coach, Newell, I believe.
Yeah, Sean Newell.
But
correct.
I So I think we're moving the right way. Now, ESPN being the biggest mafia there is, did you guys by any chance see like the 10 best coaches in the nation? And they had them, or 247, I don't know who it was. I cannot believe that Lincoln Riley was not in between those. And what is everybody looking at LSD? LSU, the coach from LSU, he's everywhere. He's not that good. Give me a break.
You're not a Brian Kelly fan?
Lincoln Riley is gonna excuse me?
You're not a Brian Kelly fan?
No.
Not many people are.
You know why? Because he used to coach Notre Dame, and I don't like Notre Dame. So just like the other, the guy that was before that, the real old guy, I call him the mummy, whoever that was. Of course, I don't like him. But anyway, just wanted to touch bases with you, letting you know that we're moving on the right way. I also saw the one last thought, the guy that is coming in, the new quarterback that he reclassified for 2025.
Yes.
And but guys, don't get excited because these kids change from night to day, like they change their underwears. So he's already opened up his recruiting, to all these people. So you know what, Lincoln Riley is like a shark. When he sees somebody, that's his specialty. A quarterback that he wants, he'll get him. Look, if you don't come to USC to be a quarterback, you're not going to win a Heisman. And I think the specialty of Lincoln Riley, that's what it is. He messed up with the defense with Mr. Rich, but he already came forward. He repented. He confessed his sin, and he got very good coaches on the defensive side. So now we're moving forward little by little. As long as we keep moving the right way, nobody's going to stop us. USC is coming back, and they're coming back like the Trojans of old. You guys have a beautiful day. God bless, man.
Thank you, Enrique. Always appreciate your call every week. Thank you so much for calling in. A lot there to unpack, but yeah, I think that the last part we were talking about Julian Lewis. I might have. So do go check out my article because I go into the reason why some teams probably backed out, some teams have probably evolved. We covered it again that he's going to Auburn, Georgia. What's the third one again? And Colorado. So I think that's with Lincoln Riley's blessing. But I think at the end of the day, everything he said, he just sounds like that Caleb Williams. He wants to come and be with Lincoln Riley. Caller, thank you for hanging on there. You're on with Matt and Tim. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Gerardo from downtown LA.
Gerardo, thanks for calling. How you doing? Been a while.
I'm doing great, thank you. I listened to you guys, but I don't know if I have a chance to call. But I just have 3 quick points. The first one, I'm a big Enrique fan, and I'm a big USCJ fan. I'm become a fan. Number 2, I became a freshman at USC in 1974, so I had the chance to see lines with Anthony Munoz and some of the other great ones. But in those days, just like more recently, the big Nebraska lines were known because they had 50 years. And that's not the case anymore, because now they can go earlier to the NFL, and there's a lot of other reasons why linemen leave earlier. So one of the questions that I have is, do you think a better approach would be to start bringing in freshmen who may be 3 and 4 stars, because Nebraska, with all the great lines they had at the time, and Oklahoma, they were not, they didn't even have stars those days, but they were not really 5 stars. They just developed them. And or to continue, looking in the transfer portal to fill the holes. But the second, and the one that interests me most, the question that interests me the most is, now that Saban is gone, now maybe Harbaugh is gone, who's left as far as Royal? I think Lincoln Riley can become one. He's not there yet, but he could.
Kirby Smart.
So you guys have some thoughts about,
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys left with that. Well, so you have Kirby Smart with his 2 national championships, right? You have Dabo with his national championships, and then you have hanging on with his Texas and North championship. Matt, help me out. I forgot his name, from North Carolina. How could I forget this name? Coach for the 2005 national champion Texas Longhorns. Mac Brown. Those are the only guys, right, that have national championship in their bag. So there's not a big long list of them. And then I think recently I saw a stat that Lincoln Riley has the highest win percentage of any coach that has not, a Power 5 coach that has not won a national championship. So you got to look at Lincoln as being the head of that pack. Or was it? Yeah, what's Ryan Day's win percentage though? I thought his was
pretty high. It's pretty high,
and he didn't have one. So, so maybe that stat was wrong. I saw that on the fly, but there's not a long list. And I'll tell you what, like I was talking with Mark on with Mark on the show earlier. He basically, you might have a situation. Ryan Day has a lot of guys coming back this year, and this is going to be his year because they have generally. I mean, they almost beat Georgia. A kick away from that. There'd be a lot of pressure on Ryan Day. It's be interesting to see how he does this year. But there's only a handful of coaches out there right now that have that specialty status. Obviously, now that Nick Saban's gone, it starts with Kirby Smart, and then you have Dabo. I think they're a different category, but not a whole long list. Matt, your thoughts on the top of the current state of coaching?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty open landscape, Gerardo, and like loading up on offensive linemen like that's where USC really needs to plant its flag. And you think about student body right in the 1970s. You alluded to Anthony Munoz. You alluded to that glory era for USC, and also in the Pete Carroll days. USC was just a physically superior team at the height of the Pete Carroll era. That's the missing piece for USC. Like the skill positions are there, but the lines are not developed enough. And Tim Prangley's dad, Papa Prangley, he talks about the John McKay approach of building from the middle, building from the inside out. That you have to be fortified right in the middle of the field. Where the crash bang at the line of scrimmage happens, and USC's not there. USC isn't where it needs to be, and so that is the frontier that USC needs to reach. It's just very clear, and obviously Josh Henson is playing catch up, but it's also why there's no assistant coach on this staff going into 2024 with more to prove than Josh Henson. And if he can turn the corner, and if he can do wonders with these young pups that Tim, has been talking about on our past several shows, if Josh Henson shows that he can develop these young guys into monsters, then that could really be the takeoff point for this USC program. Because I am now we've gone from Alex Grinch, a guy you have zero confidence in, to this all-star defensive coaching staff. Like I already have 100% trust in this staff. I don't see how these guys are going to go wrong in terms of just coaching, development, technique, mindset. I'm fully sold on that. Josh Henson is the guy where, hey, you can make a good case for him, but you could also make a skeptical case. And if he delivers the goods, if he is able to turn the corner in 2024, I think then you have all you have all the pieces of the puzzle. You have the Rubik's Cube fully aligned at USC. It's going to be really interesting to see what Josh Henson does in 2024.
Yeah, Gerard, you were lucky to watch those lines with Brad. Well, who was there? Brad Buddy, Matthews. I mean, just go down a list. Foster, Van Horn. I mean,
yes.
And have you watched the Anthony Munoz interview on this channel yet?
Absolutely.
Okay, because he goes through that whole group.
Matt had a great little video that came on. I saw it today about comparing, Belichick and Saban and Pete Carroll, and in the differences, the styles in coaching. And I remember sneaking into the practice, and John McKay in his little golf cart. He never really interacted with the players, but he had the assistant coaches, and the assistant coaches were the difference. Look at Robinson's, when he had great assistant coaches and when he didn't have great assistant coaches.
Yeah.
And so I was so happy to see the new coaches we have, because that makes a world of difference.
Yeah. Talking about Papa Prangley, he brings that up all the time. He talks about the assistants that were John Robinson. He had a lot of the holdovers from that McKay. McKay had Dave Levy, who I think just passed away. Levy just passed away recently. Just these great coaches. Craig Fertig. I mean, there were a lot of great coaches that coached that, and I think you're onto it. There's another Papa Prangley axiom where it's basically you start on the inside with the trenches, but also your first recruits is your coaching staff. And he says, you get that right, you're gonna do just well. So yeah, my dad, I think he's on both points. I think, and you know what's great? It looks like USC is doing both of those things. For 2 years now, Henson's been building up the defensive lines. It's going to continue to get better. And Lincoln Riley now just said, look, I'm going to give us an elite defense. And sure as heck he did, and he put it out there. And I'm telling you guys that this last piece, that's why I said this, tie the bow on this sucker. Getting Eric Henderson in is going to be, you watch. We're going to go back to those days. I know a lot of you guys, some of the older guys, the younger guys might not know, but some of the younger games, I wrote them down because I was going to forget them. Sean Cody, Cedric Ellis, Mike Patterson, Big Cat Leonard Williams, Stevie T, right, and Antoine Woods. These were big guys in the middle that set everything. That just set everything on that defense. And we had that kind of a guy in the front and the middle. We did damage, and that's what I'm hoping we get back to. Well, anyway, Gerard, we got to move on.
Yep.
I lost 2 more calls because I'm chatting away.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you as always. Fight on, man. I've done it again, Matt. I've done it again where I just talk too damn much and we lose. So this time we're getting better. We didn't lose 13 callers. This time we lost 7 callers. But at one point I had someone waiting 26 minutes and they hung up. So that I'm going to remember that call the rest of the night. Whoever that was, I truly apologize. And I'm not sure if Jana, I hope she didn't, I hope this was an accident, but she sent us the first one, but then she also sent us another one and another one and another one. So Jana, thank you so much for $8 worth of on 4 different super chats. Really appreciate you being here as always. And can't tell you how much it means to us that you guys are just here, let alone giving us money to be here. So appreciate that. One more quick thing. Also, Walter Clark was asking me, Tim, if he's still here, when have Coach Lincoln Riley as OC? So I guess when we have Coach Lincoln Riley as an OC, why do you think the offense won't be prolific? Well, I guess I define prolific. I think that they're going to be very productive. I think that they're going to be very efficient. I think that this team's going to look very good once we get to about maybe October. I think we're going to have some serious learning curve in the beginning. It's steep, and we jump right into the deep water. We don't have a big, easy ramp up. So, I think the 3rd game's Michigan in the Big House. I think if I have to go back and look, I think it's either 3rd or 4th game. So in the first 3 weeks, we're playing 3 or 4 weeks, we're playing Michigan and LSU. And so why do I think? I just think that that we're just the offensive line pieces might take a little time to gel together. I think they're great, but there's gonna be maybe some issues starting there. We're gonna have a brand new center. So I mean, what's that going to be like, right? I mean, there's a curve there. So I just think that some parts of the offense, I don't think Lincoln Riley's come down a notch. He's still Lincoln Riley. I think Miller Moss is an amazing quarterback, and I think he's going to be just fine. I think our young receivers are going to be absolutely insane. And I'm excited to see, again, every piece of it, all the pieces I think are great. It's going to take time for it to come together. I don't think that it's going to gel together for us to be a prolific offense early. Matt, any thoughts on that?
I just think it won't be as prolific as last year. That's the point. It won't be as prolific as it was under Caleb Williams. I think that's the main thing. I think it's still going to have moments when it's very prolific, but you're not going to have that expectation. You know, every game you take the field, you're expecting at least 30 points because Caleb Williams is there. Not going to be the same with Miller Moss in the Big Ten. It's just going to be a different deal. But I do think the offense can be prolific, just not on the same scale as what we saw the past few seasons.
Yeah. Well, you guys, again, we did a little better, I think. We're getting there, Matt. We're getting there. I think the callers did a great job of shortening up their calls. I got to get a little better about me and my lengthy answers. But as Matt said, we have a lot of stuff out at Trojans Wire, so please, you guys, go check that out. I have the links in the details here. I've got, I think, 4 now, Matt, I think maybe a 5th. And Matt, as always, is pumping them out. There's tons of content about USC, anything from recruiting to coaching to our opponents in the Big Ten. So make sure you're checking us out every day at the Trojans Wire. Also, Monday, we will be, as always, meeting up with Mark Rogers for our Monday show. Every Monday, we have the Trojan Conquest live show at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you come check us out for that. And then, as always, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you guys, we need to give Reggie his trophy back. All right, it's getting a bit ridiculous. Charlie Parker, you're embarrassing yourself every week. Please give this man his trophy back.
Baker. Charlie Baker.
I said Charlie Parker again, didn't I?
Jazz legend, baby.
Jazz legend and a one-time USC basketball coach. So,
wow.
You know what? We'll do it. We'll do one more call. Sorry, Matt. You're going to kill me for this one. Caller, really quickly, I'm going to honor you calling in. Please turn down your TV, though. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Thank you. My name is Matt. I'm from La Habra.
Matt, thanks for calling in. And really quickly, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to focus on the season opener real quick against LSU. I think it's a big statement game. I think it's going to be a game where USC could really show off what we got on the defense. And I just want to say, I hope we tear them up.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback themselves. Matt, any thoughts on the LSU game?
If it's Garrett Nussmeier for LSU going up against Miller Moss, I like USC's chances, but we'll see who LSU has in that quarterback chair for that game.
Yeah, it's going to be
absolutely, guys. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, and no problem. Appreciate you calling in, Matt. It's going to be interesting. I want to see this defense. I mean, I wonder how quickly. I mean, Danton Lynn got this defense. Now, remember, they had a pretty easy ramp up. So this is one thing I will tell you. He turned UCLA around right away in 1 year. Well, their early games were, or they had time to kind of play around with that. USC again in game 1. There's going to be probably some. There's probably going to be some growing pains on that side of the ball too. But I'm hoping. Listen, anything, right? Everyone's going to agree. Anything's better than what we saw last year. So I think the improvement's going to be stark, and I think they should have them ready. Lynn should have them ready for that visit out to the desert in Las Vegas.
Absolutely, guys. You guys have a good night. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Appreciate you calling in. All right,
Absolutely.
guys. Well, we've done it again. Thank you again for joining us here on a Friday night. We know you guys all have busy lives, a lot going on, but we appreciate you guys coming in here to share, that 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock hour here on the Pacific time zone, or, this would be the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock out on the East Coast. Matt, any articles you want to have them check out? Sorry, caller, we're cutting it off right now. Appreciate you calling in. Call next week. Matt, any particular article you wanted to discuss really quickly before we go?
Okay, well, this is the voice of college football, but in terms of plugging Trojans Wire, folks, USC, number 4 in the country in women's basketball, currently a projected number 2 seed. We have Juju Watkins, who really seems to be the heir apparent to Caitlin Clark in terms of taking the torch from Caitlin Clark. When Caitlin Clark goes to the WNBA, Juju Watkins is going to be the superstar of women's basketball. Read our women's basketball coverage. We're covering a team that's a Final Four contender. And also, if you're a top 4 seed in the women's tournament, not the men, but the women, you get to host the first 2 rounds. So there's going to be NCAA tournament games most likely at the Galen Center this March. Really want you to support our Trojans Wire coverage of women's basketball. We do football 12 months a year, but women's basketball is the big thing right now. Follow our women's basketball coverage at Trojans Wire.
Yeah. Thanks again for everyone for being here. Make sure you are checking out our coverage at Trojans Wire. Make sure you're checking out the Monday show with Mark. We appreciate everyone being here. Great news. Riley put a bow on this thing. It's he said he's gives us elite defense. He gave us elite defensive staff, putting the stamp on it with the Eric Henderson hire. Again, you guys, if you're still here, by the way, if you're still here after an hour and 15 minutes, let me know in the comments. Let me know that you made it through the entire show. Drop me a little note in the comments, or any question you might want, or maybe some topics you want me to write on for Trojans Wire, or Matt to write on Trojans Wire, or maybe just a question you might have for us in general. I do a very good job of answering most, if not all, serious questions in the comments. So again, appreciate it for being here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're still trying to get to that 5,000, guys. We really appreciate if you can help us out. Hit that like button so more people can check us out. And until next week, you guys, remember, we appreciate everyone. We're excited. The Las Vegas game will be here before you all know it. Trust me. So enjoy the offseason. It'll go fast. And remember, everyone, fight on.